Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast. I am back. I'm back. I'm joined by my brother James. Good afternoon, James. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, mate. Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks for coming back and putting me at ease. I don't have to worry about rambling on as I did last week. But yeah, good to have you back and good to be here, mate.
Yes, it is definitely good to be back talking on the podcast. But was it the result we were looking for on the weekend? No. Was it the performance that we were looking for? Not really either. So we'll have a
Mm.
little bit of a chat about the first loss of the season in normal time anyway, and maybe just a couple other points we were just going through in our in the notes before recording. So any thoughts from Stoke away from you, James?
Yeah, I think you're right. It wasn't the result or the performance that we were hoping to get yesterday. Um, I think the main frustration for everybody involved was just how we couldn't get into the game to start with. I thought the first half was very scrappy, um, and it really did feel like Stoke kind of came out and kind of did a little bit of a job on us, but it wasn't particularly um, clever in my opinion what Stoke were doing. I think they just pressed us in the right areas. And
Mm.
and we played into their hands. I don't really think they did too much to win the game, and which we'll come to. I expect. But yeah, they kind of came out and they just pressed us high, which is obviously the tactic that teams are going to have to do against us this season, which is fine. And obviously, um, Ismail knows that,
Yeah, it's to be
and the
expected. Yeah.
system. Yeah, it's to be expected, and the system is clearly designed then to break that press with either Hoot going long or getting the midfield turned and then having players forward to attack the defensive line. But we just couldn't get into the game. We couldn't get our passing going, and it really slowed it down. And I suppose the irony being was that the second half was where we looked the most like how we have done in the first couple of games. We are making better passing moves, but they scored their well taken goal, which in my opinion was kind of really the only chance that they created um, in the second half. Because yes,
Mm.
there were few chances in the last sort of throes of the game, but we were chucking bodies forward by that point. But yeah, they kind of scored when we were on top, which was frustrating.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, disappointing, frustrating, but in my opinion, it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't the worst of the worst performances, but for me, it really highlighted some of the frailties that we have in the squad at the moment.
Yeah, and I can't agree anymore. I think we couldn't get a foothold in the game, couldn't get people like Tom Delibashiru on the ball properly.
Mm.
I think so far this season, obviously we've played two games at home where we're used to having a lot of the ball, with teams looking to sort of sit off us a little bit more because they're trying to dig in, get a point at least at Vicarage Road, which is seen as quite a trophy thing to do in the Championship, as sort of proven last season.
Mm.
But I think performances like this are going to be expected when we go away from home, with teams looking to press us from the start, press us in the right areas, like you said. But it's to be expected. Trying to play out from the back. They are going to know that Dan Backman is not necessarily the greatest with his feet, but it
Mm.
is nice to see that we've got two fairly decent ball playing centre backs in front of him that can move the ball around
Yeah,
decently. It's just about manoeuvring out of the press. Um, but yeah, it was a nothing first half. Neither teams played well, but neither teams. I didn't think either team played particularly badly. It was just a pretty nothing first half. Obviously, came out in the second half. We did exactly what we needed to, um, in sort of stifling the Stoke crowd, which
yeah,
is all you've got to do really when you go away to Stoke. We did it when we beat them 4-0 last season. All it takes is a goal, and the crowd goes fairly quiet, and then you can really kick on from there. But I think we were on top. Um, the ground was fairly quiet, and then obviously they went ahead and scored, and it was a well taken goal. Um,
Yeah,
but I think some questions have got to be asked about marking at the back post. I think it had a lot of space. I mean, so much space. I actually thought it was a mile offside, but obviously it wasn't. Um, but yeah, no, really well taken goal, and like you said, it was really the only sort of thing they created clear cut wise. But he still had quite a lot to do. So fair play to him. But you know, again, there were some positives to take from it. Again, I think it's interesting that Ismail has that ideology that, look, if you're not performing, you're going to get taken off, and there'll be someone on the bench who will take your place.
mm,
We saw that at half time.
mm,
Bashiri came off, Kone came on. So I mean, even loser came off in about 60 minutes. So it
yeah,
shows that no matter who you are, if you're not performing, you're going to get brought off, and there's somebody coming on from the bench who's going to come in, who's had time to watch the game and come on and add something different. But I like that. I like the idea that he's not afraid to make changes. He's not afraid to challenge the more um, higher players in the squad, which is good because they should respect the manager and respect what he does. But yeah, I think there were a couple positives. Last season, I think we would have wilted and it could have been 2 or 3. So I think the overall response to go 1-0 down was better. But at the same time, it
yeah.
didn't really feel like we were going to go on to potentially nick an equaliser in open play anyway. Um,
No, yeah. I
but
think
yeah,
that's a really interesting point, actually. No, I think that's a really good point you make about the difference between this season and last season. Yeah, yes, I know we lost, but I agree with you that feel like for this game at least, it did look like the players had a plan of action, and there was a style of play that they were trying to get an equaliser with, and we did have quite a few chances. There was, I think, it was a rasping shot from Sema. There was a
mm,
Asprilla in the box who forced a decent save. I think there was a ball which sort of flicked up to Asprilla, and he tried to get a header over.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and that all came from the style of play that Ismail is wanting to employ. So yeah, I think had that been last season, I think we'd have definitely lost that game. But I'm not entirely sure if we'd have seen anything particularly notable. I think the game would have just fizzled out, and it would have been easier for um, Stoke last season to just sort of sit in a defensive shape and just be able to see the game out. I think at least we stretched Stoke yesterday afternoon. I just think as we'll talk about, or sort of if you want to jump in on this one, I think what was kind of plain to see is that there we were lacking going forward yesterday.
yeah,
Uh, and I'm not sort of averse to say that I've been someone who has been a little bit more on the positive side for Bio, because I
yeah,
think he gets a bad rap because of the whole cloud around who his agent is and Moji Bayer and all of that kind of business. So I think he's had a bit of an unfair rap from some of the supporter base in the past. Um, so I think he's trying to do a lot of things. I think he's working for Ismail, and Ismail respects that. But yesterday he didn't get into the game at all, did he?
no.
His hold up play wasn't good enough, and we needed that backboard for to be able to play the ball into, to have runners come off, and that's what Ismail wants. And I think that was clear to see yesterday that we really lacked in that area to be able to have a focal point up front to really allow the play to build from.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like you, I'm fairly a big supporter of Bayo. I think that there there could be a place for him in the team, and and obviously at the start, right at the start, he was proving that 2-2. But I think in the past couple of games, he missed a lot of chances against Plymouth, and again yesterday
Yeah,
didn't really do much. First half, it's obvious to see he's not a target man, and he's not doing enough to hold the ball up. His touch lets him down at times.
yeah.
I also think he comes a bit too deep sometimes to try and get the ball, whereas he
Mm,
should just
mm.
stay put, and let the play build off him. So I think, in the second half he was fairly anonymous as well. I think
But it does
with
beg the question, doesn't it, about Reece Healy
mm,
and kind of where he's at, and kind of what the thinking was surrounding him. Because obviously, unfortunately for him, his only meaningful action really so far in a Watford shirt was to miss the penalty at Stevenage, um, which is never a good start to a career. But he's not been brought off the bench. So clearly, there's issues there from Ismail's perspective in terms of using him, uh, which I think obviously then points to the fact that another striker is going to be coming in relatively quickly. I think. Um, I kind of just wanted to ask you, mate, what your thoughts were on where we sit with Aspria and Chakvetadze and them coming into the side. I don't know where you're at with Sema and Martins at the moment.
well, I think Martins looks like a completely different player this season compared to the
Mm.
brief glimpse we saw of him last season. He's looked he's looked dangerous. He was probably our best player against Plymouth. Did well other than Hoot going forward. He was our best player. He's already scored this season. He looks to be performing a lot better than he has done last season. So I would be inclined to stick with him. Ken Sammer, he's not been doing it this season going forward. He looked very anonymous yesterday. Couldn't really get into the game, and at times he's a bit of a liability. I think the ball going out to that side, whether he's
Mm.
on the left or the right, it just seems like either the ball will go out of play or he's not. I'm not going to back him to beat someone one on one this season. Who knows why that is? But I think Aspria should start over him. I think they're just building Aspria in. Give him a few more minutes here and there because obviously he missed quite a lot of pre-season, so his
Yeah,
legs aren't there yet. But in the coming weeks, I would expect to see him start,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
see
yeah,
Georgi Chakvetadze come off the bench probably a lot sooner, and maybe even he could start here and there. But yeah, on the whole, Martins, I'm pleased with him. But I think we look a completely different side with Aspria and Chakvetadze on the pitch. Look far more dangerous going forward. The thing that really frustrates me about yesterday was that we had so much attacking creativity on the pitch in the wide areas through the middle,
yeah.
with Aspria on when we in the second half, but it
Mm.
just there's no striker to hit in the middle. Seems like a lot of crosses are just going into straight into the down the defender's throat. There's
Yeah,
no real
yeah,
aim. There's no striker attacking the front post. Is he attacking the back post? But genuinely, I think it's because Bayer was just pretty anonymous. I couldn't even tell you if
yeah.
he had a shot or if he had a chance in the second half. Aspria was unlucky. Maybe
Yeah,
Chakvetadze
good
could have had a
save. Yeah,
penalty,
yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
couple
It's a
other
difficult
things.
one, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah,
Penalty shout. That penalty shout's an interesting one. My immediate thought was no, but um, the more you kind of look at it, the more you think, well, he has cut the ball away from the goalkeeper, and the defender's leg has caught him. So yeah,
yeah,
frustrating.
I
But
think
we can't be relying on penalties.
oh no, not at all, not at all. But I think we are in need of a striker. But it does ask the question, how bad is Healy in training to not being able to get a game? It does feel a little bit like, Arouge last season.
Mm.
We had this image of him being some messiah, But in
Yeah,
reality, Arouge was nothing
yeah,
really.
not
He
paid off.
didn't
No,
didn't
didn't
offer
work
enough.
out for him.
And we've been linked with quite a few strikers. Believe Sorry Kaba is off the table now, which is a bit of a frustrating one because I'm quite a big fan of
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
Thought he was really good at Cardiff last season when he came in. But looks like we're going to miss out on him. Obviously, had the opportunity to sign that South Korean striker at the start of the window, but we never made a
yeah, and
formal
that didn't come off.
inquiry about him. So that's another frustrating one. I just think we spent
It looks like,
£58,000 this season. And it's it's not enough. We can't be surviving
well,
on free
yeah,
transfers. We're not QPR. We don't have to pay a big huge debts off that are like legal in terms of the league and stuff. So I think
yeah,
there's definitely
and
some money around to spend something on a striker, but
I
who
think
that
so.
striker
Yeah,
is, we don't know. We don't know who that striker is yet. But I hope there is one coming in soon.
yeah, it
Just
looks odd on to be that. It
yeah.
looks like the club are really going for that. Shamar Nicholson, is it Shamar Nicholson? Yeah, Shamar Nicholson from Spartak Moscow. Looks like that's the one that they're going for.
But if he can put the ball in the back of the net, then that's all I'm asking for. Bit of a presence up front, can hold the ball up
This league,
decently well.
yeah, this team's crying out for promotion winning Deeney, isn't it? 14-15 Deeney.
Yeah. Or I mean,
Just that,
imagine Vidra running onto the end of Asperia's balls. It would be unbelievable,
yeah,
unbelievable
yeah,
football.
very good. You mentioned £58,000, mate. Tom Ince,
Yeah.
what do you
I
think?
think he looks like a £58,000 player. He should not
Yeah,
have
that
come
was a
on.
worry.
He should not have come on. He did not look ready to come on. It just was like we lost all attacking threat down the right when he came on. Again,
Yeah, I wonder whether or not the injury to Morris and then having to shift out Stemmer and then bring a Spear on early. I wonder whether or not that kind of forced the use of Tom Ince.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, he looks like he needs
I
a
imagine
couple
so.
couple more weeks of running around the training ground
Yeah,
before
he
he
just
should be let anywhere near the squad.
he should just go for a few more runs before he's allowed on the coach.
Yeah,
But, I'm a bit of a loss for Tom Ince. I was
it's too early, isn't it? Too early.
a fan of the signing,
Yeah,
but
I still think it's a good signing,
uh,
but I just think he looked lacking,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
lacking match fitness and sharpness when he came on.
yeah. Obviously, he's not featured at all throughout pre-season. Had a bit of an injury, but yeah, I think it was too early for him, and he did very much look like a £58,000 player.
Yeah.
So I've got on notes here. Hoot solid again.
Yep.
How much do you think we'll rely on Hoot and Porteous this season if we are to challenge at the top end of the table, James?
I think if you have Hoot and Porteous putting in eight out of 10 performances every week, we're gonna be up there. Because I think they'll be defensively strong, but also I think they will, particularly Hoot, will be such an important outlet for us.
Yeah.
So I think Ismail's system relies on centre backs being progressive, and it sounds like from all of the noises that's coming out from the club and all of the content they've been pushing out with the player interviews, it sounds like they're fully bought into it. They believe in it, and I think that the club and the squad needs that leadership that I think both Hoot and Porteous provide. So I think they're critical. I think they're absolutely critical to the team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, with the likelihood that whenever we go away from home, we're going to be pressed heavily,
Yeah, yeah,
particularly in the opening exchanges. Dan Backman's not the player that you want to be with the ball at his feet a lot, but if they're shifting their entire midfield and attack across the pitch to close off a lot of space on one side in particular, the outlet from Hoot a crossfield ball to the other side of the pitch will be absolutely, it's a must to get us out of
Yeah.
tight situations. And when they've shuffled across onto 2/3 of the pitch, it then leaves a lot of space in the midfield once we
Mm,
break out of that pressure. But like
mm.
you said, if they're consistently putting in 7 out of 10s, it's going to help us massively.
Yeah.
It's already doing
Yeah.
it, but it's going to help us out massively. And it's just so nice to see some Watford centre backs that are comfortable with the ball at their feet and
Yeah.
don't throw the towel in
Yeah. Yeah.
after 70 minutes. So it's
Yeah.
really, really refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, really refreshing. So, James,
Mm.
anything else to add for this podcast? Seems like a bit of a
I-
short one this week.
Yeah, a little bit of a short one. But I don't think that's a problem. There's plenty of games this season. There'll be plenty of us to dissect. I think I think it'd be remiss not to mention the fullbacks, Morris and Andrews. I think they just didn't have their best games for us.
No, no,
Um,
not yesterday.
I mentioned sort of my concerns about the two of them last week after the Plymouth game, where sort of talk about their end product was a little bit lacking against Argyle, and it was the same again today. But I think the club will stick by them. I think because they're youngsters, they're going to have ups and downs. It's all part of their development. Um, Concerning the Morris, obviously got injured, which leaves us a bit short now at left wing back. Um, but I think hopefully Jamal Lewis can come into the side fairly soon. I think
Yeah,
that's key for us. Um, so yeah, disappointing and frustrating at times when good positions are sort of spurned by those guys. But it's going to happen, and I think that's where we are as a squad at the moment. We can't have, you know, the best. If we seem a world away from Femenia, uh, don't
yeah,
we?
a long way away.
Going forward, bombing down that right hand side. But yeah, I don't think we can ignore the fact they didn't have good games. But they've got to develop, haven't they? So yeah, I think that's the kind of the last little bit to talk about. It feels a bit doom and gloom, doesn't it? I thought that it wasn't the worst loss in the world. They're obviously going to be a difficult team to go to. You're going to have those afternoons, but I think obviously Ismail has put the team through their paces over pre-season. Maybe they're just a little bit leggy, and now that starting ever needs to be rotated through and get some new players in. I think a big test for us now will be how we bounce back from this performance. Is it Blackburn next
Blackburn at
weekend
home,
on
yeah.
TV? Yeah. So I think that's key. But I'm still pretty optimistic. I like what I'm seeing on the pitch when the team is doing what Ismail wants. It's fun to watch. It's attacking and we're getting in good positions. I think we're a couple of signings away from having a squad we could be really happy with. Um, but yeah, just need to cut out those little mistakes. And I really do believe the goals will start coming because you're absolutely right. If we get Asprilla and Chakvetadze out on the right and left, I think there'll be plenty of chances that are created, and hopefully the ball will just start falling for the lads in the box, and
Yeah,
we'll start scoring some goals.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it just seems like it seems a little bit deflating at the moment. Just with how well we played against QPR.
Yeah,
To then sort of, I don't want to say peter out, but we've not scored in the last two games
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and I just wonder, until we get a striker in, whether the goals are really going to continue to be dry, or maybe we'll do something different against Blackburn. Just get some more chances away. I think it's quite interesting when we talk about the right and left back situation. I agree. I don't think either of them particularly had a great game yesterday. Um,
mm,
but I think that they're still reliable. They can still do it in the championship. Absolutely right. To keep persisting with them. I don't think either of them deserve to be dropped. Obviously, we'll see where Morris is at with his injury. Over the next few days, I would imagine. But I just think when uh, when when they come into midfield for possession, um, to create an extra man, it does seem like when we're attacking as well, they both seem to get in and around the box, and it just
Hmm.
seems to be falling just for the fullbacks to be shooting, which isn't particularly what we want. But
Yeah, I would, yeah, I get you. I think I'm just happy that the ball is falling for us to be having a shot in the first place. After last season where we hardly ever created anything, it's nice to be sometimes having the opportunity to have a shot. So I'll take it for now. I'll
yeah,
take it for now.
yeah, we'll take it for now. But I think in the future, if we are managing to create that space, it surely we can create it for someone who
True.
can be able to put the ball in the net and it not get
Yeah,
blocked every time somehow.
yeah,
I
true.
don't know how it gets blocked every time, but hopefully, we can kick on, bring in another striker. But it does seem a little bit like the transfer sort of rumours have dried up a little bit recently. Not really seeing anyone new linked with us over the past few days, which is a little bit worrying, given that we thought we'd have another 4 or 5 new players coming in to strengthen the squad,
Mm.
if not just bolster the size of it. But we'll just have to see. Doesn't look like Pozzo wants to spend a lot of money this season, which is a little bit frustrating given the transfers we've got. We sold
Yeah,
a
I think
couple of really valuable assets to the club. So
I think we need to understand that that's where we are as the club. I think they've prioritised the financial security and the future of the club, which um, we should be absolutely behind. I never believed for a minute that the money for Pedro and Sarr was there to be spent.
oh no no
Um, but I sense the frustration, but I just don't think that the money is there to be spent at the moment. Maybe in January, but yeah, not at the moment for me anyway.
no. I completely agree. I don't think we'd ever look to spend 40 million in the championship. But it does. I think we can spend a little bit more than £58,000,
Yeah,
particularly in a summer
agreed.
window.
Yeah,
Because
agreed.
we can't. We're not going to go anywhere with just bringing in free agents, no matter how good. Yeah, no matter how good your director of football and head scout is. 58
True.
thousand isn't going to take you a long way in the championship. But another week, another,
Yeah,
there are more positives to take. Mindset definitely seems to be changing, which is good. The
yeah.
style of football is there to see. The
Hmm.
players look like they've got a game plan even when we go behind. So that's interesting to see. I thought it was interesting that, the difference in mindset between going behind last season, thinking that we wouldn't even create a chance to score after we go behind, to this season where, with a better striker and a bit more luck
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
day, we could have
yeah.
easily got a point, if not all three.
I
But
think so.
I did just want to mention two outgoings this week and last week with
Yeah,
loans, which I'm really, really um, glad about. Shaq
yeah.
Ford, League One loan. This is what we said in our keep buy sell, which is fantastic. Really sensible decision. So obviously, someone at the club is listening to the pod and
Yeah.
is taking notes. So yeah, really good loan. I imagine he'll get game time at Leighton Orient as well, which is really solid and just another
Hmm.
good season of development for him. Quadro Bar going on loan to League One as well. Really
Mm.
like that loan as well. He's going to get game time what I will say is a struggling Burton side at this current state in time. Um, so yeah, two really solid loans. Hopefully they can both kick on, carry on their development, and come back and challenge for places. Because when Barr signed for Watford, I was really excited by him. I thought it was a really solid signing from where was he at before? Was it Gillingham or
It
was it
was
Rochdale?
Rochdale, I think.
Rochdale.
Rochdale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know to pick up something like that when Man City and other clubs like that were sniffing around for him, then I thought that was really solid. He looked exciting, scored a couple of
Yeah.
decent goals in League One, so hopefully he can kick on from there and he's obviously had a couple of years to develop in with us. Obviously went out on loan again last season, but I don't really think that came to anything. So hopefully they can both
No.
push on, but really happy with those loans. Sensible decisions. But nice to see that the club is pushing forward in the right direction this season.
I think so.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So that is the end of this week's podcast. We really hope you have enjoyed. Make sure to follow us on Spotify. It leaves a 5-star rating. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And we are now available on pretty much every single podcast app about. Just got added to 4 more, including Deezer, a couple other podcast apps. So we've got you covered on every single basis. Please continue to listen. Drop us any comments you have down below in the comment section. Follow us on Twitter as well. We're always quite active on there, aren't we, James?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we are. We love it.
We'll catch you again very soon with another episode. See you later, guys. Take care.
Have a good one.